Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to be covering some of the tips you need to know to get you up and SUP surf foiling for the very first time. A lot of you have got foil kit already, maybe because you've got into wing foiling. So a lot of you should be looking at going out in the surf with your SUP foil, giving it a go. It is a challenging side of our sport, but it's a very rewarding side of our sport. And if you take your time with a few good tips, you can actually make it a lot easier. So in this video, I'm going to go over some of the key major points you need to consider to get yourself up and SUP foiling for the first time. Now, we could go into loads of detail in all of these points. So this is very much an overview video of the things you need to think about to get yourself on your first waves. You don't need any really high-end technical gear, just easy gear to use. Board-wise, you're talking a board that's nice and stable. Definitely, I would say, going to be 6 foot or longer is ideal because you want a board that paddles in as straight a line as easy as possible. So getting on a really short board isn't actually going to make this easier. With foil wise, you want a foil just like with your winging that's fairly big, fairly stable. You don't want any really small stuff to get up and going because you are going to be starting off in very small, weak waves when you start. So a big front foil that's fairly easy and stable to use. We've done lots of other videos and other stuff on types of boards and foils, so definitely check those out. Whether you opt to have foot straps or not foot straps to start off SUP foiling is completely up to you. I can do either. For this video, I was using without straps, which I do find quite nice, but also you might find that having with straps or maybe even just having your front strap on will help you, give you more control on your board and also give you a really good reference point of where your foot has to be. So that's a personal thing. I know a lot of you don't like being stuck in foot straps, or maybe you've come from windsurfing, you like using foot straps. That's completely up to you. But definitely going for a first time board, having the ability to have foot straps on it does make a big difference, and it's always a thing we would recommend you looking out for. Other bits of kit you need, obviously you need a paddle. A straight leash is definitely something you need to have, not a coiled leash. And also a helmet is really worth looking into for more of the confidence it gives you that you know that if something happens, you bang your head, you've got a helmet on and you can relax, and therefore you can probably learn to foil quicker. So the first thing you want to look out for when you go SUP surf foiling is a good location. The number one thing to really be aware of is other people in the water. Finding an empty area to yourself is definitely the most important. When it comes to the type of waves you're going to be looking for, you do not want big waves. You want small waves, maybe waist high at about the most. But obviously it's got to be deep enough to ride with your foil in the water fully submerged. Ideally, you're looking for a wave that picks up so it gets nice and steep, but then just drops off and doesn't really break. But those are like waves around a river mouth or around an outer bank, but not all of us have got those around our local area. I know where we are, we haven't actually got those types of waves. So if you're like us, you need to be finding a wave that's fairly mellow, fairly soft, fairly gentle, and breaking far enough out from the beach. Before we jump into actually getting you on your first wave and start yourself flying, you've got to be thinking about how all of this is working underneath your board. How is your foil working? I've said about this in lots of other videos. Maybe you've seen those already, but if you haven't, I'll go over it in a really quick and simple way. The foil underneath your board is an airplane wing. If you lean back, like an airplane leans back when it takes off, it will go up in the air. If you lean forward, like when the airplane goes to land, it comes down, it will go down. You lean left, it goes left, lean right, it goes right. So think about you as a pilot of a plane. You need to have enough speed in the first place, but then you need to lean back to initiate the foil to get it up. But as soon as it's up, you need to flatten the foil off to stop it keep on going up in the air. And then when you want to come down again, you need to lean slightly on your front leg, and that will bring your foil down. Another thing that makes a massive difference, and you really need to have a good understanding and feel of it on your board before you get in the surf, is you need to be paddling in a good surf stance. So what I mean by that is you can't be catching a SUP surf foil wave with your feet in a normal SUP parallel stance. You need to be a good offset stance or a full proper surf stance, so with your body turned sideways. That needs to be mastered without a doubt before you get into the waves. The good thing about that is you can get your foil, get your board, get on flat water and just learn to paddle it, learn to feel comfortable, learn to turn around on the flat, get yourself in that surf stance. The sort of stance you're going to be ideally looking for is a good wide stance from your front foot further forward, your back foot near the back of the board. So you can either be right in the middle of the center line, both feet in the middle, or one foot can be to the left and the other foot can be to the right, and that will still give you a good amount of balance. But you need to be able to paddle in on the waves in that position. If you can get yourself paddling in on the waves in that position before you start, you've really sped up your learning curve. So I can't stress that enough. Get yourself on flat water and be able to paddle your board, your foil setup in that position, and be able to paddle it at a fairly good speed as well. Remember, you're going to have to catch waves in that stance. And again, if you're going to be using foot straps or not, try paddling on flat water with or without foot straps. Get used to the feeling, what feels best for you. So now let's look at catching our very first wave on the foil. You've selected a wave that's coming in, you're getting yourself in your surf stance. The wave is coming in and it's not too steep. It's about right. It's going to give you enough power. You're going to be able to catch it, but it's nothing too steep that it's going to scare you or make you have to move into riding your foil earlier than you should. Now, the reason I say this is on your very first wave, I do not want you to foil, which sounds very strange. Very first wave, I do not want you to foil. I want you to be able to catch that wave. It may even be a little bit of white water as well. Catch that wave. I want you to lean your weight onto your front leg as you catch the wave, and I want you to keep the board flat to the water and ride the wave in. You may even only be able to ride it for 50 feet, 20 meters, whatever it is. Just ride that wave in, but do not initiate the foil. You could do this a couple times if you want to, or you could jump straight into it on the next wave and you could lean slightly further back or a little bit more neutral between your front and back leg. Then you will feel your foil will start to lift. The airplane will start to take off. As soon as this foil starts to initiate and you start to lift off the water, ideally, I want you to flatten off fairly early on, if not touch back down straight away again, which is by leaning on your front leg. So you're leaning back to initiate the foil a little bit, but then when you want to bring that foil down, you're leaning on your front leg to bring that foil down. Now this is important because it shows that you can get lift on the foil, you can get a bit of height, but then you can control that touchdown. You might fall off after you touch down and all that sort of stuff. That doesn't matter, but it just shows you that you're getting control of your foil. Keep this going wave after wave, maybe then try and increase the length of your flight, maybe even the height of your flight, maybe even go up and down on the same wave. This is going to really boost your confidence. It's going to show you don't have to foil really high on the foil, getting most of the mast out of the water. The problem with that is the higher you are, the center of effort changes, the balance changes on your foil. You've got further to fall, and if you do touch down, you're going to have more control, or you're going to have to be more aware of how you control flying that foil higher. Now, after your first session, you're probably going to find that you had some okay waves or some just about foilable waves, and you had a lot of waves that really weren't very good. Now, the big difference and the big important thing to try and work out, which is something you can definitely do at all levels just by being visually aware, is selecting the right wave and not taking the wave you're paddling for if it suddenly gets a bit too steep. Back off that wave, get away from that wave. Don't catch it. Don't feel that you have to catch that wave just because you're paddling in for it. Always look at the wave, see how it's reacting. Is it getting steeper? Is it getting too steep too quickly? The last thing you want to do is take a wave that's too steep. You're better off trying to catch a wave that's already broken and white water if that's going to happen. Let it break further out, let the white water come in, get yourself some speed up, and then catch the white water. So wave selection and getting on the wave at the right point is very, very important, and that's probably why you've had some foiling waves that were better and some that were worse. It was all to do with the speed, the steepness of the wave, and how quickly you've got to react to control the foil under your board. The last little tip I'm going to give you is about bailing, about crashing, about getting away from your foil. When it comes to coming down or crashing, which is usually what happens at the end, you want to make sure you kick the board towards the beach. This is where there's obviously nobody in the water around you, obviously, and you are jumping off the back of the wave. If you're aware of where your board and foil is, you're very unlikely to come in contact with your foil. There will be some times you might fall on top of the foil or over the rail of the board, but again, if you're not going that high and you can control the height of your flight, that won't really be a problem. If you're flying really high, then there are more chances of you hitting the foil, but as long as you jump out to sea and always force your board in towards the beach, you really won't come in contact with your board or your foil. So to summarise, get yourself a nice floaty board that's easy to paddle in a straight line. Use a foil with a big amount of area that you don't need to catch very big waves with. Make sure you really concentrate and you can paddle in a good surf stance before you go out in the waves. Practice that on flat water. Find a surf break with nobody in the water, or maybe just somebody who knows that you're learning to foil so they know sort of give me a wide berth. Your first few waves you catch, don't try and fly on your foil. Lean your body weight onto your front leg, keep the board down on the water. The next wave, try and lean a little bit further back or a bit more neutral and get that flight time, but then bring your board back down again. The more confident you get, the more time you spend flying, the better you will be at controlling that flight time with your front and back leg leaning forward and back. In time, you will be able to go higher and you will have more control to turn left and right. And if you do fall off, make sure you kick the board into the beach and jump out the way. And the most important thing is wave selection. Always make sure the wave is just about right, not too steep, and don't feel rushed into the wave just because it's there. SUP surf foiling is a fantastic side of our sport, and it's something that a lot of you should be looking at. It really will help you get more water time because you don't need the perfect conditions, and it will make you become way more of a confident paddler because you're increasing your comfort zone and really trying to learn something new. I'd like to thank Astron for sponsoring this video, and definitely with price points of packages that they're sort of bringing out, these sort of boards like the 6.3 Falcon is a very good board to look at getting into SUP surf foiling with. As I said earlier, it's nice and big, nice and stable, and it's not too short. Not a lot of other brands have got boards at that price point like this on the market. I hope you found this video interesting and informative. If you've got any questions and comments, please let us know, and we'll see you on another video real soon.